guys, Rylan back with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at this 2019 Honda Civic base model. So this vehicle starts at $19,400, so under $20,000, and that's exactly how this vehicle is equipped as such. So this is going to give you a great representation for what your money can get when you order this car with no package options whatsoever. Before we take a look at the exterior, the interior, and go on a little driving run, I have to say, if you enjoyed the video at any time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I want to give a big thank you to Mossy Honda of Lemon Grove for letting me come out and film with this 2019 Honda Civic. Now without further ado guys, let's go ahead and jump right in and see what this car is all about. Now starting off and taking a look at the side exterior of this vehicle, and the first thing you notice is obviously this bright red color, which Honda calls it Rally Red. So it is a very vibrant color. It looks nice in person, especially when the sun hits it, not like today when there's a bunch of clouds out. However, it is a vibrant red, and if you want to stand out, this is probably the color to get. Now getting a wee up close and personal with the side of this vehicle, and one thing I do want to point out since we're here is the fact that there's silver trim all along the side of this car, which is very surprising to see in a base model vehicle. Usually they don't get any trim at all, especially on the exterior of the car, and if they do, it would just be some cheap black plastic. So the fact that they did line the whole side profile of this car in this silver trim that extends from the A-pillar to the C-pillar is actually quite fantastic and surprising to see. Now taking a look at the wheels themselves, and these are the standard wheels that you get on the base model Civic. So these are 16-inch wheels, and they do look pretty nice. They definitely fit the car's appearance. They're kind of on the sporty side, which is definitely where the new Civics are going. Now moving along to the front of the vehicle, and this is definitely my favorite angle of the car. It looks very aggressive from the front, and for 2019 they actually changed the bumper up a little bit, so they made it wider. Definitely looks more aggressive, wider, and just appears a little bit lower because of that extra width. Looks really nice and upscale. Definitely doesn't look like a base model vehicle, and that's definitely accentuated by the fact that it has HID headlights in the front as well, so they're not halogen bulbs. They definitely could have cheaped out and went with some halogen bulbs. Now taking a quick look at the back of this vehicle, and it's definitely more minimalistic. There's not a lot going on back here. You do get, of course, these partial LED tail lights that are just signature Honda. They look pretty good and do stand out really well on the road, especially in terms of like nighttime driving, so that's great to see. And then you get a backup camera that's standard for all new vehicles sold in the US. Another good thing, and it's not too obtrusive, so you don't notice it too much, so it does hide in there. It's recessed. Along with having silver trim on the bottom, there is no exhaust port, so that's something either you love it or you hate it. If you're an economist, then you love it. If you're a sporty kind of guy and wish you were riding around in a Civic Si or something like that, Type R, then you're not going to like that there's no exhaust tips back here, but it is what it is, and definitely gives a more clean look when it comes to the back end of this vehicle. Now taking a quick look at the trunk since we're back here, and you can see that there's definitely adequate space back here, enough for a couple golf bags or a bunch of groceries. Now instead of having carpet back here, the flooring of this vehicle actually comes with this rubber or plastic material mat. It's nice to see a plastic mat back here, especially on a base model vehicle. Keeps everything nice and tidy. And the seats in the back also fold down. Now a couple other things I want to go over before we jump into the interior of this vehicle is the fact that this is a 5-star crash test rated vehicle conducted by IIHS. So that's great peace of mind. Along with that, which is very surprising, especially on a base level car and an entry level car at that, is it still comes with all of Honda sensing technology. So safety features such as radar cruise control, front collision warning, and lane departure warning is all still equipped with this car as stock, so you don't have to pay more for those features. Okay guys, now jumping into this 2019 Honda Civic base model. Now what do you get for under 20 grand? Well, the first thing upon entering that you're gonna see is obviously the steering wheel, and this steering wheel is leather wrapped for 2019, so it does feel really nice to hold, and there is perforated materials on top and the bottom of this 3-spoke design steering wheel. Now taking a closer look at the gauge cluster for this base model vehicle, and it's really surprising to see a fully digital gauge cluster as such. So the tachometer and speedometer are fully digital, and you have a little screen in between those to display various information. Now taking a look at the seats, and what I like right off the bat is the fact that there isn't some crazy goofy looking pattern for vinyl seats. A lot of companies put in these goofy looking patterns for their base model seats, their vinyl seats, and it just doesn't look right. So these happen to be almost all black, apart from just this little strip on the bottom part of the seat as well as the top part of the seat. Now the seats themselves are on the firm side, but they are still very comfortable, and being on the firm side, it's actually going to give you better posture so you don't slump over in your seat like you would a very cushiony seat, and they still provide adequate bolstering. Now moving on and taking a look at the center console, and the first thing that stands out is this 5-inch infotainment screen. Now typical Civics come with a 7-inch infotainment screen that's touchscreen, and it's a little bit more feature rich. However, this 5-inch screen is definitely more than enough and adequate. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it still has Bluetooth connectivity, so you can still connect your phone and play your music, or listen to navigation through the speakers. The screen itself is not touchscreen, but is in fact controlled by just hotkey buttons, so it's very easy to navigate through the screen. There's no digging around in menus and such to get to one category from the other. Literally, it's just a bunch of hotkey buttons. So if you do want to go to media, just press media, or you can change, cycle to the radio, cycle through different media options, whether it be USB, auxiliary. Now obviously parallel to the screen you have two knobs, one for controlling the volume and one through cycling through stations, and the knobs themselves definitely feel pretty quality. They have some rubber around them as well as some aluminum trim, and there's no wiggle room with these knobs whatsoever. Moving directly below the infotainment screen, we have our climate control buttons. Now this car does not have dual zone climate control, which you would expect from a base model vehicle. However, it does have a secondary screen to display the temperature in the car, as well as how much air you want coming out, or the direction of the air itself. Moving down from the climate control buttons, and you have your standard looking gear shifter, which is a nice thing to see because it's definitely easy to use. Now the gear shifter itself does feel to be leather wrapped, which is really nice, and you do have some aluminum accents and piano black accents as well. And then down from there you do have an electronic parking brake, which is another crazy feature to see in a car that costs under $20,000. So this feature is really becoming popular in 2018, 2019 years, and you're starting to see it even in base model vehicles, so that's really cool. Now looking at the entirety of the dash, and it just looks very minimalistic and almost futuristic as well. Everything has just sweeping lines to it, and almost looks like just it's multi-level dash, going from the top part of it where the driver sits and sloping its way gradually down. The air vents itself have that slope design that you see along the entire dash, and on the dash itself you do get this leather filling material, which does have a little cushion to it, so it isn't like just completely hard plastic, so that's really nice to see. Okay, so just listening to the speakers for a few minutes, and I will say that they sound pretty clear. If you get really loud, obviously the clarity is going to go down a little bit, especially when you're looking at a 4-speaker system with about 150 watts for this base model trim level. However, they do sound really well, given that it is only 4 speakers, and for the average person and the majority of people, this is more than enough. Now taking a look at the center storage and cup holders, and one of the things that they changed for 2019 model is they added bigger cup holders, so it's easier to fit bigger drinks or hydro flask and such. So it does look definitely bigger in here, which is nice. And then you have just an armrest that slides forward or back depending on where you want it. So if you sit closer up to the front, you can have that armrest up further, or if you sit further back, you can slide that armrest just like that and have it further back, which is nice to see. And then it doubles up as a storage compartment, and the storage compartment itself is very deep, but not too wide. Now past the main center storage area, you actually get another area to store things, and that's just under the infotainment screen itself. So there's actually this little pocket that holds a 12-volt power outlet, as well as a couple USB ports. Now I'm happy to note that this Civic, being base model and such, comes with automatic windows, locks, and mirrors, so that's really good to see. Okay folks, now moving around to the back seats. I know, everyone's favorite seat to sit in. Now for real though, for this Civic base model trim level, I have to say that the seats are pretty comfortable. In fact, they do have a little bit of bolstering on the seats themselves, even in the back, so you do sit pretty comfortable and secure. If your friend or buddy wants to go around a corner at an excessive amount of speed, these will lock you in just like the fronts. As far as leg space and headroom, I want to say that my head space is still probably like 2 inches. Again, I'm 5'11", so if you're 6'1", 6'2", you won't be too claustrophobic back here. That is good to see. And then leg room itself, this seat is pretty much all the way back in the front, and I still have a good, let's say, 2 inches of leg room. So again, 6'2" and under, you'll be able to fit pretty comfortable back here. You get taller than that, well, you know what, I'm sorry for you. Now while sitting back here, the one thing I do notice is that the stripe on the front seat actually carries over to the back of the front seat itself, so you do get to look at this nice little patterned stripe that looks race inspired. You know what, it is standard back here, and that's to be expected on a base model car. You do get coat hooks and the old, for lack of a better word, just a little handle to grab onto in case your buddy gets a little squirrely on the road. Okay guys, now getting this 2019 Honda Civic LX on the road. And the first thing you notice is the firmness of this car and the agility of this car. So when I move the steering wheel, right off the bat, the car turns. There's no play in the steering wheel whatsoever, which is surprising to see in a base model car and just an economy car and such. Usually there's a lot of, you know, play in the steering wheel, and this vehicle doesn't have much play whatsoever, so that's really nice. Now cruising along as I am, for being a car that's under $20,000, it's just insane the amount of insulation. There's no wind noise whatsoever. I'm going about 45 right now, and there's nothing in terms of wind noise. There is just a slight amount of tire noise, and you do get just the drone of the engine just a little bit, but overall, this car is just so well insulated, and it's just very surprising. Now in 2019, they did add a bit more refinement to the interior, so they did add a little bit more insulation, and you can definitely notice. Now if you're looking at this vehicle for a commuter car, then you definitely want something that's well insulated, or you're gonna get just a major headache when you have to hear a bunch of wind noise and tire noise every day on the way to work. Okay, I'm gonna give this vehicle a little gas, see what kind of power we're working with, and okay, so you definitely hear the engine working, especially thanks to that CVT, continuous variable transmission. So this car really never shifts. Some trick technology, I don't want to get into it, but the fact is there is a little bit of noise from just like that droning effect that you get with CVT transmissions, but the engine is responsive. When I put my foot down, the vehicle definitely goes, and that's part of the reason is it's naturally aspirated, so it doesn't have to wait for a turbocharger to build up boost. And it is, let me give it a little bit more power. It definitely has some initial grunt. The higher you get into the RPM range, so to speak, the less power you get out of it, but it is plenty enough for, you know, city driving or passing someone on the freeway. As long as they're not in like some sports car, you'll have no problems passing anyone. I'm just overall shocked about the handling of this vehicle more than anything. It does still have a little bit of body roll, but it's completely manageable, and it's not like a scary amount of body roll to where when you turn, the whole car turns and you can feel that weight. This has nothing of the sort. It actually just has a little bit of initial body roll when you turn in heavy, but after that, it's pretty planted, and it's definitely confidence inspiring on the road. I reviewed a 2019 Honda CR-V about a week ago, and it doesn't soak up the bumps quite as well as the CR-V does, but it's not far off. It's still definitely a comfortable ride, but more than anything is just the agility of this 2019 Civic. This is no sport package or anything. This is just the complete base model of this vehicle, and it handles remarkably well. So another feature I forgot to mention for this base model vehicle is the fact that this has automatic brights. So when it's dark outside, the car will automatically turn your brights on or turn them off if there's another vehicle in the opposing lane. So you don't even have to worry about turning your brights on and off if you're going on a canyon road or it's just pitch black at night. Whatever it is, the car will do that automatically. Moral of the story with this vehicle, it's super easy to drive. It's that subcompact sedan that still has enough space for 4 passengers, no problem, but yet you don't have to feel, worrisome when you're on the road. You don't have to feel like you can't fit into tight spaces or whatnot. This car is just the perfect size and very agile. Alright guys, well I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up here. I really hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new. Keep your eye out for more videos like this because I'm going to be doing a ton of different videos in regards to base model vehicles. You guys ask for them and I'm going to be delivering. So again, with that being said, thank you so much, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.